What if the things you see in the dark are real? Tonight we're diving into 10 true accounts of the unexplained, first-hand encounters with the paranormal, the terrifying, and the impossible. These aren't legends. They're not stories passed down or twisted over time. These are real people, real experiences, and real nightmares. Stay till the end, because the final story might just change how you see the world around you. The thing in the closet. A woman from Oregon recalls waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of her closet door slowly creaking open. She thought it was just the wind until she heard breathing, heavy, labored, not hers. Frozen in bed, she watched as a tall, shadowy figure stepped out and stood at the foot of her bed, staring. She couldn't move, couldn't scream, just stared back in paralyzed terror. After what felt like an eternity, the figure backed into the closet and the door slammed shut. She moved out the next day. Years later, the new tenants reported the same thing. The haunted mirror. A man in Savannah, Georgia bought an antique mirror at an estate sale. The night he brought it home, he woke up to the sound of tapping, gentle, rhythmic, from inside the mirror. At first, he thought he was dreaming, but the next night, he saw it. A pale woman standing behind his reflection, even when he was alone. She never moved, just stared, dead-eyed, as if trying to reach him. One night, he covered the mirror with a blanket, only to wake up with it uncovered. He eventually smashed it with a hammer. Inside the backing, he found old newspaper clippings about a woman murdered in front of a mirror. The hotel room that shouldn't exist. A couple on vacation in Paris checked into a charming vintage hotel. The desk clerk gave them a room key, but when they returned the next day, something was wrong. The room number didn't exist. The hallway was different. The staff insisted they'd never checked in. They showed their key card, but the logo didn't match the hotel's branding. Even creepier, the couple's names weren't in the system, and no charges appeared on their card. It's as if their stay never happened. To this day, they don't know where they actually spent the night. The crying baby in the woods. A hiker in Tennessee heard a baby crying deep in the forest. It was dusk, and he knew something was wrong. No families were nearby. He followed the sound, flashlight in hand, only for the crying to move. Farther, deeper, always just out of reach. Eventually, he stopped and turned around and saw a pair of glowing eyes watching him from the trees. The crying stopped. In the deafening silence, he backed away, heart pounding, and ran back to camp. Locals later told him, "You don't follow the baby. It's not a baby." The ghost under the bed. A young girl in Malaysia insisted for years that a lady under her bed whispered to her at night. Her parents brushed it off until they moved the bed while renovating and found something chilling. An old photograph of a woman, face scratched out, buried in the floorboards. After removing it, the girl stopped talking about the whispers, but when they threw the photo away, it reappeared in her toy box the next morning. That was the last straw. They burned it, blessed the room, and moved out months later. The house, still unsold. The passenger in the back seat. A Lyft driver in Chicago picked up a late-night rider, a woman in a long black coat, head down. She gave an address and didn't say another word. When they arrived, he turned around to tell her they were there, but the back seat was empty. Shaken, he checked the ride log. The name was unknown, and the drop-off location. A cemetery. Other drivers later confirmed similar experiences. Same woman, same silence, always disappearing before the ride ends. The possessed doll. A teen in the Philippines found a handmade rag doll in her grandmother's attic. From the moment she brought it home, Things went sideways, objects moving, doors slamming, and her cat hissing at nothing. Then, she started waking up with scratches on her arms. She tried locking the doll in a cabinet, but it would appear elsewhere, once even beside her pillow, smiling. When a local priest came to bless the house, he refused to even touch it. They eventually buried the doll in a sealed box beneath concrete, but every now and then, she still hears scratching from under the floor. The man in the elevator. In a quiet apartment building in Seoul, South Korea, a woman frequently rode the elevator with an odd older man. He wore a tattered suit and held an umbrella, always staring ahead in silence. He never pressed a floor button. She figured he might be a little off, until one stormy night, the elevator opened, and there he was, drenched, mud dripping from his clothes. She tried to speak, but he didn't react. Shaken, she stepped out and rushed to the security office. When they reviewed the footage, the screen showed only her, alone in the elevator, speaking to no one. She was visibly disturbed by something that wasn't there. 2 weeks later, a landslide behind the building unearthed a crushed vehicle. Inside was the decomposed body of a man, clutching a broken umbrella, wearing a suit matching her description. He'd been buried there long before the encounters ever started. The forgotten name. In a Romanian village, a woman slowly began forgetting her husband's name, not due to age or illness, but a strange icy dread that crept in every time she looked at him. He felt like a stranger. When she asked friends and family what his name was, they paused and couldn't remember either. Panic set in. She felt as if something was rewriting reality around her. The next morning he was gone, not just missing, but erased. His clothes, photos, and belongings vanished. His side of the bed was perfectly made, empty. No trace of marriage records, no name. Only her wedding ring remained, now engraved with a name she didn't recognize, one she had never heard before. She stared at it, feeling like she had never really known who she married, or if he ever existed at all. The shadow in the tunnel. A group of urban explorers in the UK entered a long abandoned rail tunnel, capturing footage as they went. Collapsed beams, rusted tracks, graffiti. Then, in the distance, one of them spotted a human-shaped silhouette. It stood still, perfectly still. They called out, thinking it was another explorer. No response. The figure never moved, never blinked, as though it was part of the darkness itself. Later, reviewing the footage, they noticed something strange. The figure appeared clearly, but it cast no shadow. In a single frame, it stood directly behind the cameraman, though no one had seen it there in real time. The last thing on the tape was a barely audible whisper. "Keep filming." The screen glitched, and then the video cut out completely. The phone call. A man in Ireland received a phone call from his sister, which wouldn't be so strange, except she had died 3 days earlier. The number on the screen was hers. He answered with a trembling hand. Static filled his ear, and then her voice. "Just his name," whispered softly. Then the sound of deep breathing and waves crashing in the background. He sat frozen. When he tried to call back, the number was disconnected. The phone company later confirmed the SIM had been deactivated before the time of the call, but his phone's log still showed it, incoming, time-stamped to the exact minute her funeral began. No one could explain it, and yet there it was, proof that she'd reached out one last time. The boy in the ward. A nurse working night shifts in an old children's hospital often passed by an unused wing. The doors were always shut, the lights dim. But sometimes she'd glimpse a young boy at the end of the hall, pale, dressed in outdated hospital clothes, just standing there, watching. When she asked her co-workers, they dismissed it. That wing had been closed for years. Still, the sightings continued, always at night, always in silence. One evening, curiosity got the better of her. She followed him. He turned a corner and disappeared. On the dusty floor, she found an old patient file. It belonged to a boy who had died in that very ward decades ago. Shaken, she took it back with her. But the next night, the file was already open on her station, though no one else had touched it. As she leaned in, a soft, childlike whisper brushed past her ear. "You saw me." The graveyard light. Late at night in a quiet New England town, residents spoke in hushed tones of an eerie glow that wandered among the ancient gravestones. Some said the light moved as if driven by an unseen force, pausing over certain graves before fading into the mist. Neighbors dismissed it as a trick of the light under a full moon, until several passers-by reported that the illumination grew brighter and more deliberate, as if beckoning them. Determined to find answers, a local journalist ventured into the cemetery on a foggy night and captured the phenomenon on video. The footage revealed the light pulsating rhythmically along rows of tombstones, accompanied by gentle, almost imperceptible knocks echoing from beneath the ground. His final spoken word on the tape was, "The light beckons, but who answers its call?" The locked door. In a creaky Victorian house turned rental property in New Orleans, a tenant grew increasingly curious about one particular door. It was old, with a rusted knob and a faint floral pattern carved into the wood, but no keyhole. No matter how she tried, it wouldn't open. When she asked the landlord, he just said, "It stays shut," and refused to say more. But at night, she heard things, dragging noises, low whispers, sometimes even laughter drifting from behind the door. Unable to shake the feeling something was inside, she slid her phone under the crack and hit record. The next morning, she listened back. At first, it was quiet. Then, the soft sound of a gramophone playing an old tune. Someone was humming along, out of sync, almost mournful. Then came a whisper, close and cold. "Why did you stop the music?" She packed her things and left that day. Only afterward did the landlord admit the room had once belonged to a woman who died mid-song, during a party no one ever talks about anymore. The entity in the reflection. A YouTuber doing a live stream noticed something horrifying during playback, a tall, black figure passing behind him, even though he was home alone. He brushed it off as a glitch, until fans started pointing out that the same shape appeared in multiple streams. One night, mid-stream, he turned toward the hallway and froze. Viewers watched live as his eyes widened and he whispered, "It's here." Then the stream cut. He later posted a video saying he was done streaming for good. The comments, filled with screenshots, "The entity is in every one." The boy on the stairs. A family in South Africa kept hearing footsteps on the staircase after midnight, always the same number, always the same pace. One night, the father installed a motion-triggered camera. At 12:17 a.m., the camera clicked on and caught a blurry image of a small boy in old-fashioned clothes staring into the lens. No one in the family matched the description. The photo was shared online. and someone recognized the boy. He died in that house in 1910, falling down the very same stairs. The family still hears the footsteps every single night. The Gravity Hill. In Southern California, there's a stretch of road known only to locals as Gravity Hill. Drivers report the same thing. When they stop their car at the base of the incline, it begins to roll uphill. No engine, no explanation, just a slow, steady movement against gravity. At first, it seems like a strange optical illusion, until the stories start to surface. Legend has it that years ago, a school bus crashed on that road, killing several children. Ever since, the spirits of those children are said to push stalled vehicles uphill, trying to save others from the same fate. Some drivers claim that if you dust your bumper with powder before the trip, you'll find small, child-sized handprints when the car comes to a stop. No wind, no animals, just prints, and a sense that someone or something was trying to help.